topic is the make invisible visible. This is groundwater, of course, as a source and resource.
Water is essential.
Presenter is Neno Kukurić, Dr. Neno Kukurić, who is now chairing the UN UNESCO Center of Second Category, IGRAC. He invests a lot of energy in building this center. Today, he has more employees than it was in the beginning.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This presentation will be a very light presentation, and it's the end of the day, and after this very impressive presentation from Ethiopia and very challenging tasks there, I will give you a very light presentation, and then it will come Theodora at the end as a dessert at the end of the day, so everything will be fine. This presentation is about invisible groundwater, making invisible visible. Groundwater is for us here in this room very much visible because we deal with groundwater all the time. But for the rest of the world, less. For some people, unknown even, because you can't see it. So what we are trying is to make invisible visible, and using various means to do that. And I will start my presentation with a very simple movie. It looks very simple, and it's certainly not perfect, but it costs us a lot of time to make one step towards making invisible visible. Can you start the movie, please?
Water is essential to human, plant, and animal survival. As our second primal need, right after oxygen, water is one of the most precious resources on the planet. Groundwater is stored far below the Earth's surface, in soils and rocks that are able to hold the water in the openings and cracks, like a sponge. From huge cities to tiny villages, about 50% of the world's population depends on groundwater every day. Just in the United States, groundwater makes up almost 40% of the water used for irrigation, bathing, and drinking. In Mexico City, one of the world's most populated cities, there is no nearby surface water. That means that 95% of the population relies on groundwater for all their water needs. And then, all the way across the Atlantic in Denmark, a staggering 99% of the drinking water for the entire country comes solely from groundwater. So, what's the problem? Well, while groundwater is the most abundant source of fresh water on Earth, it remains a hidden resource. We often know where to locate it, but what really keeps it hidden is the limited amount of data about its availability, current state, and use. In other words, we often have insufficient insight into the water below the ground. Let's look at an example. As our climate changes, droughts are happening more frequently. With a drought, there is less surface water, which leads communities to depend more and more on groundwater. But how can they know how to use it sustainably? Some communities may be polluting the groundwater reserves unknowingly through farming activities. A valuable resource could become seriously contaminated just because we can't see what effects our actions have below ground. This has consequences for everyone using the aquifer. Consider that every year, over 200 times more groundwater is extracted from the earth than oil. Since you can't manage what you don't measure, having reliable data is critical. Knowing what is going on below can even prevent conflicts in the long term. It's time to uncover the mysteries behind the great resource of groundwater. The key is informed action based on sound research. With proper groundwater management, we can make sure that our groundwater benefits many generations to come.
Thank you. Can I get my presentation now? So this was a very short movie, but we tried really in a simple way to show what the groundwater is and what are the main issues. Of course, we couldn't put everything there, but this is one of the means that we can use to advocate for groundwater case. And then, if you look at the groundwater from the global perspective, we will see the facts. Some of them are mentioned today by various speakers, but it's good to have these facts at hand and to show it when we advocate for groundwater, that 1/4 of all water withdrawal is coming from groundwater, or that almost, as I think Branislav mentioned, almost half of the population of the world drinks groundwater every day. So, from global perspective, we still have a lot of people on this planet who do not have access to safe drinking water, and groundwater is often a solution. And don't think only about drinking water, think about regeneration and buffering characteristics of groundwater system and how important groundwater is for the wetlands, for the rivers as a base flow. For us, that's common knowledge, but for a lot of people it's not. And certainly in the countries which have the coast, like the Netherlands, we know very well how important groundwater is to provide strength to the soil matrix and prevents seawater intrusion. So just one more slide like this, about groundwater from global perspective. Groundwater problems are local problems, but they really do have a global impact. In a modern world, with this flow of goods, that flow is also flow of the water or groundwater used for their production. And so if they say that 1 kilogram of beef needs 14,000 liters of water to be produced, so that means exporting that 1 kilogram, you are also exporting water which was used for the production. We were talking today a lot about global change, about population growth, and well, population growth actually I haven't heard a lot, even not from you, from Ethiopia. And and climate variability are increasing pressure on the groundwater resources. And that's additional reason that we need exchange of information and knowledge on groundwater in order to learn more what is going on with this pressure resource. That was the main reason to set up IGREC, International Groundwater Resources Assessment Center, and to facilitate and promote international sharing of information and knowledge required for groundwater management. The center is set up already in 2003, and since then it provides independent content and process support, and we are focusing particularly on, because of our international character, on transboundary aquifer assessment, groundwater monitoring, and information and knowledge management. So I will say just a few things about these three main activities. IGREC is, as Zoran mentioned, UNESCO Global Groundwater Center. It also works under auspices of WMO, World Meteorological Organization. It's a corporate member of IAH, and it's financially supported by the government of the Netherlands. Everything what IGREC does is available online free of charge. So just a few words about transboundary aquifers. I didn't count, but I think that if we take large aquifers, that about 60–65% of those aquifers are transboundary. So most of the aquifers cross national borders. And there are potential cross-boundary problems because of many differences, and you see when river crosses border, you see what your neighbor is doing, and but groundwater is very difficult, and so building the trust and managing together internationally shared groundwater is really challenging. So we need joint assessment, monitoring, and management of these transboundary groundwaters. There is a program led by UNESCO, which is called IRSAM, and there are also the other organizations which are involved in this this activity. UNECE a lot in Europe and Central Asia. A lot of projects are supported by Global Environment Facility and et cetera, et cetera. So what we are trying already for years and years to map transboundary aquifers, and every couple of years it comes a new edition of the map, and this is one made for 7th World Water Forum last year in Korea. Everything what we make, we put in a system, and this is very important. We really have to make full use of contemporary technology and accessibility and availability of these modern systems everywhere where you have internet, and that's practically all over the world nowadays. I will say a few words about that anymore. Just to finish my story about transboundary aquifers, and say about transboundary water assessment program, which was recently completed. And for the first time, there was really multidisciplinary approach. So not only groundwater hydrogeology, that's of course our favorite subject, but we have to take into account the socio-economical aspect and legal aspect, institutional aspect, all the aspects and political, of course, which are important to deal with these problems, like you showed for Ethiopia. So for the first time, we have a structured, publicly accessible database on transboundary aquifers. Now we are extending this for all large aquifers. What we are trying to do is shamelessly ambitious, and that's we are trying to make a basement of aquifers of the world. So really to have basic information on all aquifers in the world accessible to everyone. I said a few words about global transboundary program, and this is example of zooming to one region, and I think familiar region for most of you here, and dealing with the transboundary aquifers in that region. And this was very challenging because it was a karst, but the steps are more or less always the same. You try to get information together, to harmonize what you have, data and knowledge, and then to establish or improve cooperation mechanisms. And that went quite well, to my huge surprise, knowing that this is the Balkan. And the third step is then to facilitate harmonization and priority reforms. So these are classical steps when you deal with the transboundary groundwaters. Well, so far I said I dedicate a few slides to assessment. But we live in a changing world, and Kenny was talking today about climate change and impact on groundwater, and there are a few facts here that due to population growth and climate variability, this pressure is increasing on groundwater, and there's overexploitation. And due to various factors like increase of drought frequency, intensity, rising population, extension of irrigated land, etc., etc. Well, we can argue what are what is the direct climate impact on groundwater, and what is indirect, and what's coming from us, from human activities. Nevertheless, both climatic and not climatic impact need to be considered in a conjunctive manner. So this is already a couple of years old, but it's a good example what my colleague just said before about predictions of the global climate models. Because, for instance, this is about recharge. And, for instance, if you look to, let me see, Western Australia, then you'll see in one picture red, and in the other blue prediction. So, you know, it can go both sides. So how can we assist there to get a better prediction? Because we have so many uncertainties in this model due to choice of the model, projections, applied emission scenarios, downscaling, etc., etc. So these models, they use simplistic characterization of groundwater. Still is, if they use at all, it's bucket actually, and what is rest at the end, sometimes even without lateral flow, is groundwater. So there is a concern over evaluation of this proxy information which is used. We can get a lot of useful information from remote sensing and from the models, but we really have to also measure, because you can't manage what you don't measure. So that's the reason that IGREC started several years ago with the Global Groundwater Monitoring Network, which is participative network. So it's not new network, but network which uses other networks of the United Nations and NIH, etc. And what we do is we support all over the world groundwater monitoring by strengthening people networks and providing a portal where countries can upload data, can analyze data, time series analysis, but also spatially. And this is quite sophisticated application. And this is freely available to the countries to assist them in processing and sharing of their monitoring data. So when I'm talking about, this is the last part of my presentation, when I'm talking about this support of technology, I would like just to give you a glimpse of information, global groundwater information system, which we are developing already for more than 10 years. And again, everything is available on the web. So I showed something about transboundary groundwaters, about groundwater monitoring, but there are also the other topics there. And we started with the country-based information, but because nowadays the groundwater information is still available mostly country-based, but we are moving to the aquifer-based information, like river-based information, so it's more logical. And these are just some functionalities there. It is really a huge advantage of these systems that you can use web map services and make your own combination of overlays and then create new information. And for country, it's very important that they remain owner of information they provide. So it's not giving information to international organizations or whoever. No, it is participative way, and they remain in control of information they provide. So gradually we are trying to get a picture, a fair picture of what is going on. And this is just one of the first drafts of the map. This one shows groundwater development stress, which is not result of the model or remote sensing, which is mostly based on terrestrial observations. So, of course, you have to combine that. because we want to know what's going on globally with the groundwater. So at the end, a few words about future of groundwater resources. Climate change and human impact on groundwater resources doesn't stop at the country borders, asking for joint assessment of internationally shared aquifers. There is a lack of information on change of groundwater resources at regional and global scale, so sustainable and informed groundwater management employs conjunctive use of groundwater, so integrated water resources management in real sense of the word, and then requires better insight into the state, assessment, and the change monitoring of groundwater resources, and last, using reliable predictions made with an integrated model, that means including surface and groundwater. Building a case for invisible groundwater using technology and building people networks. It's all about emotions. We see that the way how we work is changing, and management as well. Now we have globalization, privatization, and climate change governance. We have water footprint network, as I mentioned. We use new methods like serious gaming or hydroeconomic modeling. So what do we have? We have globalization, we have climate change, we have new way of governance, and we need adaptation to all this. So, well, the trouble with our times is that the future is not what it used to be. We have to deal with this. But as I said, everything is about emotions and everything is about people.